Welcome back to another episode of Freedom Blueprint Podcast. We have got a guest who's actually come and hung out with us a couple other times. Actually, he was on episode 73 as well as 92. And that person is none other than the founder and CEO of Glasshouse, Jimmy Speyer. Jimmy, what's happening, man?
What's up, Justin? Good to see you, man. It's been a little bit,
Good
but
to see you.
third time's the charm here. Yeah.
Yeah, it has been a little bit. Happy 2026. Last time you were on, it was, I don't know, probably third or fourth quarter of 2025. So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about some leadership and team building today. But before we do that, I want to dive into a little bit about Glasshouse, what it is, what it does. For anybody who hasn't listened to those episodes, tell us a little bit about what your business does.
I'm excited to be back. Friend of the pod, I guess, at this point, 3 times in a row. But yeah, we are a software company for home service businesses. And we are on a mission to help home service businesses win kind of outside of the tried and true traditional Googles and things like that. How do we help home service businesses find more customers, find better customers, really level up their data competence in their business? How can software work for them? And how can they go out and really reach out to the homeowners they want to work with? And so we've built tools, platform, an automated outbound process where our customers can basically get in touch with all the homeowners in the neighborhoods they want to work in. So they can email, they can text, write to those people and offer their services without having to pay, which is kind of a really expensive Google tax nowadays, or Meta, or whoever you want to talk about at that point.
And it's not getting any cheaper to acquire customers through those formats.
That's not what I hear. No, it tends to be just getting more expensive every year. A lot of us have been so successful in this business, in this home service industries, and I own a home service business as well, that more people keep showing up to the party. They've kind of seen what y'all are all doing, or we're all doing, and they're saying, "Oh, this looks like a good place to make money." And so that just invariably has bid up the pricing on all the ads and all of the channels. And we're just really recreating the Yellow Pages problem. If you're old like me, and just, I suppose, you remember the Yellow Pages. So it just got to the point where, AAA whoever was going to have the biggest ad on the front of the cover, and then that was it. Everybody else is buried in the book. And that problem has just kind of resurfaced itself in a digital way. Took a while. Here we are.
I can remember when we first started using Google, and the cost of a click was like less than $1. And that was, I don't know, I don't feel like it was that long ago. I mean, I guess 12 plus years ago, maybe. But now it's crazy. And depending on market, it could be $100, it could be $200, depending on the keyword. So definitely that is a tough game for businesses to play, especially as our industry gets bigger and you've got obviously more private equity in our space. That gets a little bit tougher. But so give us a little bit. So how does that help business owners? Like, they use your platform. How does it help them gain more customers? How does it benefit them?
Benefit is getting more visibility into a neighborhood. We think about neighborhood level outreach. So my background is in, if you've been on listening to this podcast before, my background is not in home services. I kind of came into this world over the last couple of years and bought a home service business to learn more about it. And what I've spent 15 years doing is helping do B2B software sales organizations. And in those worlds, there's a lot of ways to get in touch with the right or ideal customer. And what we've been working on for like the last 2 years is, how do we help a home service business think that same way? If you have a neighborhood and it's a really good set of properties and homeowners for your service, then how are you creating additional visibility within that neighbor outside of just the yard sign or the 3x3 or 5x5 or whatever you want to call it, like different names for it? But how are we going viral in that area? You could do it through ads, kind of, but it's very untargeted. It's very blanket approach. It usually doesn't think about these 80 houses or these 137 houses. And so getting in front of directly like that group of people at a really neighborhood level without waiting for the mail either, because you can mail them something, but you're probably come and gone by now, right? So that speed, everyone talks about speed to lead. It's speed to creating a lead. It's speed to actually reaching out to the homeowner at the exact right time, and digital tools that have kind of been lacking in the sales organizations of most home service businesses. They provide that speed to lead or speed to prospect in a way that really nothing else can.
Well, and I know I've said this a couple times in the podcast, and anytime I'm talking to somebody about the product or service, I say the same thing. To me, it's the difference between being proactive and reactive in your recruiting. So when correct me if I'm wrong on this, but if I want a neighborhood and I'm doing it from a traditional digital Google standpoint, they're only going to find me if they're searching. With
Mhm.
you guys, you're going out to them, letting them know that you're here and ready in more of a reactive way to let them know that you're there and available. Is that a fair statement?
100%. So I live in Nashville, and so this couple weeks ago, we had a real bad ice storm. So like everybody in the southeast part of the country, maybe not quite all the way down to Pensacola. Not sure how you
Oh, oh
down there
yeah.
too.
Oh yeah. It got, mm-hmm.
Iced out. I mean, I lost trees. I had all kinds of like the whole city shut down for a week. My kids were out of school for a week and a half. And at that point, customers that we were working with had a way to get in front of homeowners immediately. Right? Hey, do you have an ice dam on your roof? Hey, is your plumbing going? Our plumbing went out. Hey, is your plumbing having problems? Hey, is your water heater busted? Like, how do I get in touch with those people with immediacy? Like right now, as something's occurring, because I can't mail them something. First of all, no one's delivering mail this week, even if I could, and it's
Right.
going to take a week to get there. Right.
Right.
And then, sure, yeah, at that point, you can say, well, everybody's online looking for people. I'm like, yeah, there's like out there just trying to. So, are you the first one they find? Are you the biggest HVAC company in the entire city? If you're number two or three, you're the second or third person on that list. I'm going and I'm pulling, and this is my favorite thing to visualize in a home service outbound sales motion is how are you identifying the right property and pulling that towards you and creating demand? And um, one of the coolest things ever happened last week is a company that we work with as a business. So we use a professional business coaching organization, and the owner texted me a screenshot and said, "Hey, is this y'all?" Because he got a screenshot from somebody who did bathroom models, or sorry, he got a text message from a bathroom modeler in Indianapolis. I said, "Hey, Kevin, we'd love to work with you. We're these people. If you have any bathroom remodeling needs or work, like just let us know." And he texted me and said, "Hey, is this you? Because I do need something done in my bathroom." It's like, yeah, that is our software. Like somebody, like I could tell just from the message and the formats and everything. I said, yeah, that's us. He's like, awesome. So he texted back. He booked an appointment. They came out. They're helping him redo a tub. But he's like, he called me. He said, Jimmy, I never would have taken the time to go on Google, find the person for this thing that's just kind of like on my punch list in the back. We all have that list for
Mm-hmm.
our house. He's like, but they found me at the moment when I did need the thing. And if there is I'll wrap that up by saying, if there is a driveway sealing company that's listening to this in Nashville, text me and my wife will buy that driveway sealing today because I'm never going to do it. But we haven't got around to going and finding somebody. So that's the whole idea is how do you get in front of that person who's got that thing that they need done or want done? I do need my water heater flushed. Oh, I do need to get somebody to look at that roof. It's getting kind of old. But it's that getting someone to take that leap into proactively looking for you versus you saying, hey, I'm here, I can help, which is the name of the business, name of the game and service for sure.
Well, and think about it. So your example was via text message. So that one
Mhm.
text message, as someone who just had a bath done through one of the rebath type of companies,
Mhm.
that was probably $10,000 or $15,000 sale from that one text message. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
the ROI on like 10 cents is pretty legit at that point, right? So it's real.
So,
It's also just it's also just different, right? Like you just being different is half
mhm.
the game because you stand out from the crowd.
I mean, for anybody who's a Savannah Banana fan, they should know that. That's the whole drum Jesse Cole beats is be different, stand out. And that is a good way. And I think sometimes contractors, because I've been in shops before where they'll get a lead in and I'll ask them like, what's your follow-up process? Like, well, we'll call the customer and then we leave them a message. I'm like, all right, well, then what happens? Well, nothing. Well, it may be top of mind to you, but to that customer, like you said, I got this thing that I need to get done, but it doesn't hurt bad enough, or it's not a big enough pain for me to like take massive action. But man, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, what about this thing? I might go, yeah, come on. I need the driveway sealed. Just come do it. And I can check it off my box.
I think as business owners and operators, we sometimes, I do this, I think a lot of us do this, is we fall into this trap of thinking our thing is as important to everybody else as it is to us. Like you have
Right.
a background in services and trades. Like I know you do a lot of coaching with HVAC companies and people like that. It's like they think about, HVAC units all day. Right. And if you're a roofer, you're thinking about roofing and you're driving around and you have like you're looking at roofs and you're thinking about them. You're like, oh, that one needs shingles. Oh, that's gonna leak. The homeowners, the average person in life is not thinking about your passion as much as you are all day, every day. They just aren't. And if you expect them to have that same level of excitement for the thing that you have invested your life's work into, that's a big ask.
So, with Glasshouse, obviously you guys have had tremendous growth, right? Just tremendous growth. And part of that's because the product and services is awesome. I've seen it in action. I've seen how it works. It's really incredible. So obviously you guys have grown tremendously over the last couple of years. So part of what I wanted to talk to you about was, really, I don't want to use the word scaling, but growing a team, right? So you've gone from, well, walk us through what that looks like from the start to where you guys are team wise now.
Yeah. So over the last 2 years, it's been a little over 2 years, we've gone from one person. So it starts out with, one person we have 18 team members now. Um, we have a hub here in Nashville. So I was part of like when you start a business, I believe in you should write down the things you're looking for to accomplish and the milestones you want to have and why are you doing this? And one of them for me was I wanted to have a place to go every day and work in an office around other people. Super important to me. I love it. I like the energy of having other people. There's 3 engineers through that wall right on the other side. We already sat down and talked about a bunch of product stuff 3 times today. It's great. And so that was important. So we have a hub here in Nashville. There's 7 of us locally. And then everybody else is distributed. So we have to have a team like recruiting from around the country. And so that has come in kind of waves. We actually have 5 of us now that are actually been here for a year. So actually now starting to get employees who are coming through that 1-year tenure, which is also pretty cool to see. But yeah, we've been growing and building out different departments. Now we have different we have sales, we have marketing, we have customer success, we have engineers. And so they all kind of grow at different rates at different times based on the trajectory of the business.
So from and I know we talked a lot about the software. I do definitely want to shift gear because I think I know you have a lot of experience in growing teams, growing sales teams, building it. And that's really what I wanted to lean into a lot today. So going from 1 to 18 in 2 years, that comes with its challenges, right?
Absolutely. Growing any team comes with its challenges. I have had the experience and the fortune of being able to be part of high growth organizations. I helped build sales organizations primarily before starting this company. Took one from 3 people to 125 people over the course of 4 years. Another organization like from 10 to 50, another one from 2 to 20 or 30, some of those ranges. So I've had a lot of experience in building organizations, also a lot of experience in how not to do it. So I am a big believer in learning by doing. I have learned by doing it wrong as much as I've learned by doing it right. I just got
Sometimes those
lucky
stick
enough.
better.
Some people are tap you on the shoulder people, like they can get they get the lesson if you just kind of like light tap on the shoulder. I'm like a 2x4 across the head kind of guy, but I definitely learned the lessons along the way, and I was lucky enough to be right more than I was wrong. So it worked out in the end. But yeah, I've had experience building teams. And then this one, which is kind of different when it's yours from day one, from day zero. The lessons learned is like, how do you define the business culture? One of the organizations I was privileged enough to be part of was really culture driven and really mission driven. And I took that away. Try to take something away from every company I've ever been a part of. And from that one, I really took away like, if you want to have a world-class organization, then you have to have really, really aligned people. And
Mm.
alignment to me starts with having everybody accept a couple of core tenets, values, principles, and beliefs that is like centered around how you work together, because that's why you're all there. And if you can define those really well, then you can only hire for those things, like only hire for people who match those things. You just tell people straight to their face, we're not for you and you're not for us. Like you won't like us and you won't like it here. So don't bother like wasting your time. You will hate it.
Well, and what a great way to do it, because then, yes, you're not wasting time, but also frustration and money. And I mean, think about when you hire somebody and you bring them on and you don't have that exact clarity of what it is that you're looking for and what your team stands for, then you bring somebody in, and then 6 months, 8 months, 12 months down the road, you figure out that it's not alignment. It's really expensive to go back and rehire and retrain and go through that whole process.
It's expensive to you. It's expensive to them too. I actually
Mm-hmm.
think about so I'm really, really frank with interviews. I'm going through an interview process right now. We're hiring right now. So if everybody knows anybody in Nashville, we're looking for some more team members locally for our sales organization. But what I'm really upfront with people about is like, here's what we're all about. Here's what we're looking for. And I try to actually work that into the interview process from the very end of like, let me tell you who we are on the very first call. Here's what we are looking for, and here's who we are. Here's what the culture of the business looks like. Here's what the other people you're going to talk to are going to look for. And that way, if they're not interested in that, they don't have to waste their time now. But even more importantly to me is, if someone's looking for a job because they're between jobs, then if you're a nice person, you believe in helping people, then you're going to want to be helpful to people. And it looks like help to try and give someone a job. And I love building this company, and you build a company with people, and people get jobs, and it pays for people's mortgages and colleges, and that's awesome. So you see these people and you want to give them a role and an opportunity. But if it's not going to be a fit, then you are basically just delaying like their unhappiness with the situation. You're keeping them away from a job where they actually probably will be successful potentially. And that's bad enough. But if you convince someone to leave a job to come to your organization, and it's probably not going to be a very good fit, or you don't find out if it's going to be a good fit, then you are putting them at financial jeopardy, which is to me irresponsible. Like, to convince someone to give up a job and come to an organization that I'm helping lead, if I'm not really, really finding out that they're going to be a good fit and a good match for our organization, and have at least self-control over the effort that they put in to have a good outcome. But if I didn't take the time and effort to figure that out, that's on me. That's my responsibility, and that's my failure, actually.
That's such a great point. And I think a lot of times, especially in the trades, we have a very bad habit of reactionary hiring. Uh-oh, so-and-so left. We got to replace them. Hurry up and do that. So you'll probably appreciate this. I'll tell you something I always tell people when we do interviews is I always tell them to know if you're a good fit for this organization, here's kind of a quality of a person that would be a good fit here. If you go to the grocery store and you get done and you pull out and you have got your buggy and you load your groceries in your car, if you put that buggy back in the carousel where it goes, or better yet, you take it to the front door where it came from, you're probably going to be a good fit for this organization. If you're someone that leaves the cart in the parking lot, just wherever, probably not a good fit. It is amazing to watch people's reaction because you can see them going through the process in their head if they do that or not.
Did I put that back? Did I put that back?
Do I put that right? Because that's a habit. To me, it's a habit when people do that. And it's a small habit, and small habits, typically, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you do those small habits, typically that tells me that you're courteous enough around other people, and anyways, might make a good fit. Not that everybody that puts their buggy up is a good fit, but it is an interesting thing that I do like to tell people.
What I really like from that is, one, you've defined a question or a example or an anecdote around a specific behavior and habit that you think is valuable in your experience. You've proven to be valuable in success in the organization. And that's where I think, for me, like, it all starts with defining what you want, then figuring out how to screen for that, or like encourage that, like how to suss that out of the process by having things that you've tested, right? Like, you've asked that question a bunch of times, or you've given that story a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of times, and you've figured it out. Like, hey, that works for me. I have those as well. Like, I always ask people very point blank, because of the nature of our organization. I just ask a really open-ended question. I say, how much do you like to work? And usually people pause for a second. They look at me and they're like, what do you mean? Like, what means whatever, like, how much do you like to work? They're like, do you mean like hours? I'm like, maybe. They're like, do you mean like how much do I find work fulfilling? I was like, ooh, that's a good answer. Like, tell me either. Tell me both. I'll take them both. And the reason is that we're a startup organization, and we are trying to build something from nothing. And it is a lot of work. It tends to be a lot of hours, and it tends to be a lot of really close collaborative work where it's not individuals working on their own all the time. And so our really successful team members really like their job. They really like working with other people. They like working with their peers. They're not really worried about balance all that much. They're like, I don't want to be in balance. I kind of want to be out of balance. I want to be balanced towards like building something. It's fun, it's hard, it's challenging, and I'm going to make a lot of mistakes and fail along the way. And I know that I'm probably going to have to work more than 40 hours. I know it's going to be more than that. And they're okay with that. And somebody who was like at a different part of their career where that wouldn't excite them wouldn't like it very much. It doesn't make them wrong. It just means that
Mm-hmm.
we're not right for them.
I think that's
Similar, like
good.
it's just ask a question that gets to what you want to really understand
Mm-hmm.
versus, like talking to people and trying to sell them on oh, it's going to be so easy. It's going to be so much fun. You're going to love every part of it. I'm like, that's not called a job. That's called a vacation.
Yeah. Probably work like 25 hours a week. No big deal.
Yeah. I mean, Monday through Wednesday. Absolutely. Totally.
So so when you ask somebody how much they like to work, have you gotten any wild answers?
And no, I mean, frankly, you actually get a fairly, uh, I usually get a pretty honest answer because it's not the first question I ask right out of the gate, right? So, like the trick of asking, there's a trick, it's not tricking people, but like the way you ask questions throughout a process of trying to find whether or not you're a good match for somebody to work with you is you don't ask like everything, like just 20 questions. It comes from a conversation. It comes usually within the conversation. But I'm actually been very surprised over the years how honest people are with that. Because I think that how we work has become a much more front and center part of our like culture since COVID, like post COVID, it changed how we work. So I think it's talked about a lot more. I had a gentleman tell me once, I don't really like to work that much. If I didn't have to have a job, I wouldn't. I said, oh, I don't think you'll like it here very much. He's like, well, but I need
Mm-hmm.
a job. I said, I understand that, but I just don't think you'll like it here ultimately, and you'll want to leave or you won't work out because all the other employees would disagree with you. I actually took that question though back to my team members. So this is maybe the more wild answer, if you will, because it's not a lot of wild answers. Sorry to disappoint the crowd here, but after that experience, I went back to my entire team and I said, hey, I want to ask you all about this question. I've never brought it up to you. You were all asked this question during our interview process. And by the way, if you take this back to your business, whoever's listening out there in the audience, like whatever your question is, it's not relevant, like doesn't have to be my question. But if you ask that question of every single team member, then do this. Go back to them after they all work here for a while and say, hey, you were all asked this question. What does it mean to you? What is a good answer? What's the right answer? You all answered it similarly. And so what I was kind of interested in was, did they all still believe that, or were they just good at answering the question? And so I said, what do you all think about this? And hey, I've had a candidate recently who said that wasn't that important. Should we change how we ask the question? Should we not ask that question? Is this important? And to a man and a woman, every single person is like, no, 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 this is really important. It's really important to us, Jimmy. We all believe this. Keep asking that question. Please don't hire anybody who doesn't see the world the same way we do. It doesn't make them wrong. It just means that we're not all going to work very well together.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, wow. That was the wildest part I've heard so far was they were
No, I think
paying
that's
a
great.
lot of attention.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so another thing that's very important that I think a lot of businesses don't do a good job of is you're involving the team in hiring decisions. I think that's a missing part in a lot of home service businesses is they don't involve the team. They just hire, and I've seen this where they'll hire a general manager will hire a technician, and then the technician on one interview, and then the technician comes in and they go, "Hey, service manager, here's your new technician." It's like, involve your team. They're all going to be on the same team. Have them part of the process.
Done it both ways. I used to have like, I'll hire these people and hand them to people. And I've seen that play out, talking about like making the mistakes and how you build a team and how you grow an organization. I actually have pretty strong opinions about this, which are very similar to what you're saying, but I think everybody should be involved, but someone has to make the decision. And
100%.
so
Yes.
the way we make decisions at our company, we've decided this, and it's been tested now, which I've seen it play out. And as you build a company, you don't control everything. You just influence a lot, and you control less and influence more. But what I've always said is, here's how we're going to make decisions. First thing we decide is who's making the decision. That's the first decision to be made. We decide who the most qualified person is to make that decision about anything. If everybody agrees, it's easy. And then we discuss it, and then that person ultimately has to make the decision. We all agreed they're the most qualified. And it's not always the most highest ranking, whatever. It could be the person who has the most, intimate, understanding of the thing. For hiring, it needs to be the hiring manager, the person who's ultimately going to be responsible for the success of that person. You are accountable to their outcomes and their success, and they're your team that you're leading and supporting and coaching and following up with. You have to make the decision. People shouldn't give you a team member.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do involve everybody in like a process when we hire here. There's multiple, like they talk to the people on that team. They usually talk to one or two other people around the organization. But those people, it's kind of like the electoral college. This is how I put it to my team. I say, listen, when we hire somebody, it's like the electoral college, okay? And I'm Texas because I'm from Texas. I'm Texas. So I'm going to get a lot of votes. And most of you are Delaware. And you can't swing the election by yourself, okay? You just don't have the votes. But if all the other states ganged up on Texas, I guess they could eventually be like, we're not. But really what that says is if you're the hiring manager and everybody disagrees, you need to stop and have a discussion about why. What do you see that nobody else sees? But one person from 3 teams over, I saw this play out in my career where we'll have a hiring committee, and some person who had no real understanding of the role, maybe like somebody from accounting would show up and say, we can't hire that salesperson. Like, why? But one person with very low stakes within the decision process could blow up the whole thing because we had to have consensus. I'm like, we don't balance the books by consensus.
Yeah.
We're not going to do all the
Right.
sales hiring by consensus. So consensus is actually groupthink, just masquerading as something that we should all appreciate, which it's not.
That's great. So now we get them on the board. We get them on the team. They come in.
Yep.
Okay. One of the hardest things about, and we went through this with Paradise, right? Because we grew very quickly and very quickly. And that's tough to do sometimes with team because people from a human standpoint, they don't like change. And so obviously anytime you're growing and scaling a business, change is probably like the thing that happens almost more than anything else. So how do you go about managing that with your team? Because obviously you go from 1 to 18 in 2 years. There's constant evolutions that are happening, and you're learning as you're going. But what's some tips on how to do that?
Yeah, and so we went from 1 to 18 in 2 years, but we actually went from 1 to 4 in a year and a half, and 4 to 18 in 6 months. So when you start to think about the growth of software businesses is when you start to get some velocity and you go out and you raise money and do things like that, you go from 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 18, real fast at the end, right? So it kind of starts to go up, and that's the nature of this type of industry. Yeah, getting them on board, getting them understanding this is going to change a lot as you go is a hard part. What I've tended, I do a couple things with intention. We bring the entire organization together every Monday, every Friday. Every Monday, every Friday, even if you're remote, it's super easy. This makes it easy nowadays, right? And it doesn't have to be super long meeting, mission speeches being droned on about, but every Monday for the whole company for 20 to 30 minutes, we get together and we talk about what are we all going to do this week. We're still small enough that at this size, every single person sets a weekly goal, just one thing that they're going to do that week. It's their choice. No one makes them pick whatever they like. But then we measure it and they say, did I do last week's thing? And what am I going to do this week? And then it's just scored up and it's just an easy spreadsheet. And what we'll do is they'll all fill it out. And then every week we'll just focus on one team. Because now there's almost 20 of us. You can't have 20 people talking on a meeting. It takes forever. So we've evolved, and every week we look at one team and they go deep into what they're doing. So everybody else in the business can see what everybody else is doing. So visibility and transparency is super important. And then we come back at the end of the week, we do 30, 40 minutes, and we bring everybody together and we talk about what's going well in the organization, and we communicate changes in real time, all the time. And so you never go more than 5 days working here without having an opportunity to hear from other departments or learn about changes as they're happening. So it doesn't build. So it just kind of feels like a natural rhythm to the business. Every week there's some new change, new feature, the software advanced, we got a new process, we hired a new person, change the pricing, whatever the things. And so they get used to that rhythm and that cadence without it feeling like, you know, someone's moving their cheese constantly, because we're all doing it together and everybody can see it. It's totally in the light. Problems live in the dark, just drag them into the light. They wither, they die. Like, problems don't like the light. They love the dark.
So, and I know for anybody listening, they're probably thinking, well, sure, Jimmy can do that. He's a software company, right? But all the things that Jimmy just talked about have nothing to do with being a software company. Zoom works for all businesses, or Google Meets, or whatever software you want to use. So I think that's a really good tip, is to meet with your team on a regular basis. Even if your team dispatches from home, how easy. They all have iPads. They all have cell phones. Jump on, keep them up to date on things that are going on in the business, because your business should be evolving. If it's not, what's happening? Like, there should be evolution happening in your business on a pretty regular basis. And that doesn't mean shake it and change everything all the time, but there should be things happening. I mean, think about prices and how fast prices have changed since COVID, right? It used to be everybody would adjust their price book about once a year. There for a minute, I swear it was like once a month we were working on ours. But another thing I wanted to bring up that you brought up was mission, vision, and the core values. And again, I think that's a lot of things that home service businesses tend to miss, is not talking about those things, not being serious about what that looks like. I know I can speak from personal experience. When I first started doing that work, it felt weird and clunky and awkward. And I'm like, how does that make me money? And then once I did it, I realized, well, it makes you money because what happens is you start to identify who's a good fit on your team and who's not a good fit, which is all great info, man.
So when I first said I wanted to start a business, I was like, mission, vision, values. I've been part of companies that had those types of things. Like, I know I need to do that, but I don't really know what it would be. I'm just going to make something up. Like, I wanted to be impactful. And actually, I didn't know what I wanted to build. I'd tried to build a software. I was like, I want to build a software company, but in what business, what industry? And I was looking at different things, and I found home services, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is like the restaurant industry I'd come from years ago in restaurant technology and things like that. It's service minded. There's small and medium sized businesses. There's a lot of things I think we could help with. But really what I sat down to do was like, oh, I'll just build a software company and sell it for $20 million. That was the actual mission of the business, was to sell a business for $20 million. And I'll tell you straight up, that's not a very inspiring thing to most people, to want to join your team to help you sell a company for $20 million. Doesn't really look good on a wall. It's not really going to be a really good rallying cry. No one's going to give a rat's ass about whether or not you accomplish your goals if they are, you make a bunch of money. And I was like, okay. So it actually took me a couple of months to really sit down and think through that exact problem and say, what am I really trying to do here? And what do I really value? And what is really important to me? So I started writing all those things down, and I kind of kept kicking the can down the road a little bit. And what happened was kind of magical. Was I got my first like 3 or 4 team members to join. They were all starting as part-time employees because we didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. So I got these people who are like part-time employees kind of helping me out. And I realized that we were actually kind of putting some things together, and we were going to go be able to put some more money in the bank and grow the business. And I was like, okay, it's time. It has to be now. Like, we're going to actually go hire more people soon. We're going to go from 4 or 5 people to 18 real fast. And we don't have this. I have thoughts, but then I kind of had these people, and I went to them and I said, what is this place to you? What are our values? I know what I think, but we only got here because of all of you helping us do this. And so we all sat down, and I went and had one-on-one meetings with every single team member, and I took notes and I wrote it down. And I started looking like, what are the common things they keep saying? Now, the leader's job is you have to define it. But if you could get everybody to help you figure out how to do that, then what I did is I brought it back to everybody and I said, cool, we're going to keep it super simple. We're going to have 3 core values, and we're going to have our mission. Okay, we're here to help home service businesses win. It's vague enough to mean that we just help them win all kinds of ways. We can do whatever we want as long as they're winning, we're winning. They're winning business. They're winning back customers. They're finding ways to upsell their customers. They're getting in touch with people. They're converting more leads. They are winning and they feel that victory. We're going to be on top. We're going to be doing great. And then I want 3 core values from what you all told me this place is. And it was actually really easy because it was the same themes over and over again. It's a selfless place. We work really hard. We're all striving to get better. We put other people first. We have a very honest and transparent culture. We just tell people the truth, right? And so we just broke it down. Honesty is the only policy. Team before me, excellence and everything. They're easy to remember. They're kind of short. There's only 3 of them. And the process was actually something I delayed because it was uncomfortable. And when I did it, it was like so rewarding because now every time there is a hard decision to be made in the company, we just say, is this those 3 things? You know, it's software. Something breaks sometimes. Well, it broke on somebody once. You're like, I don't think they even noticed. I'm like, well, we have to tell them. Like, do we have to tell them when something breaks and no one notices? I'm like, I'm pretty sure we do. I'm pretty sure it's our core value that honesty is the only policy, and we're going to tell everybody. So, yeah, that was the experience for us, but it was super valuable because now when we hire people,
Mhm.
if if those 3 things matter to them, the way I explain this to people sometimes is like, listen, I grew up in a Jewish home. I'm not Catholic. If I showed up at the Catholic church and I'm like, hey, I want to start changing some stuff. Like all the like this Virgin Mary thing is not really my bag. Like, let's do something different. They'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa. We have our own set of values. Everyone's welcome to sign up and join, but we're not changing them. And so when people come now, they can add to the culture as long as it matches those 3 things. They're non-negotiable. It's like gravity. I can't change them. I can't change them because they are buried inside the core of the business and they're immutable laws. That's how we think. That's how I think about those.
Well, and another amazing value bomb you just dropped there is letting your team be a part of it. I think a lot of times uh, people think that, oh, I need to write all these things. They know they need to have these things, but they don't know where to start. And the example you just gave is a perfect example. Go to your team, ask them, what does this place mean? What do you feel like we stand for? Like you don't have to actually use the words core values. Like you can use some different words that resonates with them better, but your people are your business. So find out from them. That's great.
If you're like, I was so lucky to find these first 5 people that are on the team now, and they're all hitting their 1-year anniversaries and things like that, and they're awesome. And we wouldn't be here without them. And I owe them such a great debt of gratitude. But I had them, and I'm like, well, I got to ask them. Like, we wouldn't be here without Jackie. What does Jackie think? Let's ask her. She's our first team member. She signed up for a part-time gig to do a totally different job than she's doing now. Cool. I bet she has some really good thoughts on what this place is all about. It was it was very helpful.
Well, that's all good stuff. And really, kind of wrapping up, talking about weekly goals, talking about vision, talking about mission. I got tons of notes that I just took from this meeting. It was really good. So Jimmy, anything you want to leave us with as we kind of wrap up our time together today?
Um, I love talking about leadership. I love talking about building teams, building software companies is fun. Building anything is fun. It's a series of like small problems that you just have to go one after another, and you just keep going. Uh, our COO, my business partner, Jason, always talks about like you just get to solve one problem after the other, after the other, after, and it's fun if you like solving problems. That's what business really is. The other thing I would add that I think about a lot is from a leadership perspective and building a team is like just keep saying it over and over again. Whatever your mantra is to your team, but like, hey, we're going to be the best at this. This is how we believe. This is what we believe. This is our service mentality. This is our orientation to the market. Just say it over and over. And when you are sick to death of hearing it, then it's probably starting to sink in and keep going. So those are just some thoughts
That's a
that I
good
think
tip.
about a lot. Yeah.
So, for anybody listening that doesn't know about Glasshouse, what is the best way for them to find out more and to learn about the amazing software you guys have built?
We're pretty easy to find. Glasshouse.biz, B-I-Z. We've got videos on the website. You can book a demo with our sales organization. We do a live one-on-one demo. And then we onboard our customers one-on-one with a real human being. And we actually talk to them on an ongoing basis because we're still a startup and we are intimately involved in each of our, I think it's up to 300 plus customers. and helping support their outbound sales processes and book more business. So yeah, we're easy to find, we're easy to talk to, we're easy to approach.
That's fantastic. And all that information will be in the show notes. So go check it out and book a demo. Check it out. I promise you, I've seen this thing work in action. It is pretty incredible. But Jimmy, thanks so much for coming and hanging out with us today, my man.
It is always a pleasure. Appreciate it, Justin.